What the Diron number can Lamin Nanjula Yidam send it to Dover, Nyankulan Tabachis.
So, in this way, that every time and aspect of movement, carrying through the supplication prayer to the Guru, taking as like one's own meditational duty.
Mombo Yamare, nothing to the number Nunure, Tenacine, Jundu, no Topasari Natuna, Yaboyers.
So it is also that the Namju Guru Yoga practice, it is also not long, it's very short. So in that way, if one can do every morning the practice, that one can get used to it and also can receive the blessings. Once we have achieved this precious human rebirth, we really need to achieve some meaning. So to take some advantage of this birth, that the worldly activity or just a spiritual activity, that the Dharma spiritual practice is still more important. So anyhow, that we have no choice of doing all this worldly activity, but still, however, we do that naturally lead us to three lower realms. And if we do the Dharma practice, whether it is just great or small, however it is, that it will naturally lead to liberation. It will never lead to three lower realms. And especially on that Dharma practice, that mainly that self-attachment, the ego, and then all this afflicted mind, try to reduce and try to get rid of it. So when we say that to get rid of all this afflicted mind and so forth, it is not like that, our clothes, just take it off and throw it away. So these afflictions has been got so used to oneself from many beginningless lifetime. So if one does not concentrate and think and contemplate over how to just control over it, one cannot get rid of it very easily.
Oh, then they say, they don't you send on Teba Mugu Teta Mevachini, Tower Chido, Lore Dare Yare, say, compared Rogers.
So, in this way, if one carry through the practice and then generating the bodhicitta, and then having all this devotion, inclination, without any hesitation, as one continuously do the practice, then there can be some development depending upon days or months and years, that one will be just getting better into this spiritual practice. So when we are doing the Dharma practice, it is important how we can just try to reduce and try to get rid of all these conceptual thoughts. And more we think or conceptualize, that much is hindrance for the Dharma practice. Not only that, even in the worldly activity also, just more we conceptualize and think, that much is not accomplishing in those activities. And in relation with the Dharma, if we just give rise to all this conceptual thought, then of course one could not accomplish the Dharma. Besides that, one give rise to more afflicted minds.
since NASA the more younger is.
And similar like that, even the worldly activity, more we conceptualize, that much is disturbing even one's body, mind, and then also give rise to many different kinds of sickness and stress.
Karena cedru now, ko karena kilet tempo sere pa nyauso lengere madu he ji cede namki zakan raso pe mas jachimboere tanji he disakari young maras.
So the Dharma practice that one has to try to stabilize with a single pointed practice. Other than that, of course, the Dharma is like the space with all these stars, which is kind of very vast, that there is no way we can just actualize everything. If one thinks, or maybe this is better or that is better, conceptualizing, there is that naturally arise all these kind of thoughts. Similar like a just child, picking up the flowers and just going on like that, that one cannot get the benefit. So similar like a child, plucking away a flower and then sees another one and then throws that and then try to pick up the another, and then when they see another one then that through that and then just catch on picking up different. Similar like that, if we do the Dharma practice, just practicing something and then give up and then trying another, that if one could understand all the Dharma in a greater level is good, but it is just very difficult. Better to concentrate on one stabilized practice.
Tombo mahi bari chu hi guru. Chu sane zon pen to mari nyamsu len guru madu chu hi legi pen to mari.
So in the beginning, of course, one must have to understand the Dharma. And just only understanding itself is not enough, so one have to apply into practice.
So chu sheja lombo ti jaka zanji lole yana o konzo ti drop me sung.
And even in the sutra, it's explained that somebody who may have a knowledge about the Dharma, that that much of like a elephant's carriage, but still, if one does not practice, one cannot liberate.
Chuji gomo jeti getong series, songa jigen zobache mo montro tuchu tagi segere, te yalla rere ki surgi de nyaso lona konza dor tu yere mato, yans zoba hikya chimars.
So in the sutra, of course, it explains that 84,000 Dharma practices. And then according to the Vajrayana, especially in the Dzogchen Great Perfection, about 6,400,000 Dharma practices, that every single of it, even we just concentrate and carry through practice, one could have the liberation, that not necessarily one have to just know everything in detail. One can just understand, but it is more important to do the practice. So if one just try to apply into practice and then carry through the meditation, if one does not do it, then the liberation does not happen. If one does not do the practice, it is more difficult to really liberate. So the Dharma practice with like a, just concentrate with the one's heart, bone, and then there would be some benefit. So that Nyingma in Tibetan, which means like the bone heart, which means like try to work very hard with the Dharma practice, and then also how one can just try to stabilize into that practice. Nyingru, which means that that heart, bone heart, which means such as like some very brave and courageous person that who are very brave and fighting, that those such a person when dies, and if you just examine in their heart, there is a bone about this much size. And similar like that, the practitioners who have a very strong, stabilized commitment to carry through the practice, and who continuously do those, they are also just have a bone in their heart. So that the bone heart, which means that someone who just work very hard or just practice very hard, that what the word explains about. If one does not have enough perseverance into the practice, then it is more difficult to accomplish anything. If we don't have tiny bit of doubt, and then it is also more easier to accomplish the Dharma. So the absolute true nature of phenomena or the mind, and according to that, someone who has a strong trust and no any tiny doubt, and have a full devotion and confidence into that practice, then to have that recognition, it can be very simple. So we are in a way just bound or bind ourselves that one could not give rise to the devotion and inclination and then the pure perception, and because of that, then it is already hindered into the realization. So anyhow, hoping that this may just benefit you, so that is why I'm just telling you every time. And whatever that been taught to you, try to keep in your mind, and then just apply into practice. And otherwise, just I express everything, and then it is dissolved into emptiness. So in general, I'm not just a great expression, but whatever that I think that can be benefit for you, that I try to give all this teaching. So someone who oneself is not been liberated and try to give teaching to other also cannot liberate others. Many people just think that oneself not doing any practice, and then thinking just giving teachings to others. If oneself is not having some liberation, also cannot benefit the others. So even we receive empowerments and the instructions, first one have to just stabilize and have to have a strong practice. And then if one just give teachings to others, then there is also some benefit. So if we supplicate to the stone that there is no possibility to have the rain of precious jewels. If we just do the supplication prayer to the wish-fulfilling gem, then one can just one can get everything what one wish. So similar like that in the Dharma, if we just practice properly and carry through, practice, and then it is like a wish-fulfilling gem that can fulfill one's wishes. So that everything is within one's hand. It is not depend upon any other else. So now that the Ngondo and Talung students stay here, rest you all can leave and carry through your practice.
Okay, thank you.